When I first heard about having to move Flex Day from Laney to here last week, the narrative that I was telling myself was like, oh, here we go again, Peralta. Here's this situation that I don't want to be in. What I realized is that actually by moving to COA, I was able to get a lot of help. I asked for help. First it started with Tamil and Amy Marshall at Laney, who helped make the connection with Tim and then connected me to the COA team here. And there's an amazing group of people, and I think this is, as a staff development officer, I get to travel around and see different groups of people at each of the colleges, and there is amazing work happening on the ground. It may not happen systematically, it may not happen in places that are visible, but there are amazing, amazing things that are going on at each of the campuses, people doing amazing work with students, with each other, and we have to continue to build on that and to find ways to lift that up if we're going to continue to build something here. I know we're facing tough times because of all the other external factors going on, our own internal processes, but we still have the ability to lift up the work that we are doing that is worthwhile and that we can keep moving forward. First, I want to start off with some gratitudes and appreciations for the COA team. So Chung Wai, Min, Nympha, Selwyn, the custodial team, Lamar, Nicole and Janice, and many other people. Can we give them a hand real quick? AV folks and tech, Bala, Sean, Mark, Angel, Michael, Jim Stein, Ceci, Joe. Let's give them a hand. They've really helped out. The catering, the Laney crew with Alfred, and then we have Big Apple for lunch. We'll give them a hand along with the next group. The academic affairs team. I think they are some of the most unheralded folks. They're, working on the table over there. They did 3 days of events that kind of are hosted, and they're kind of event staff in addition to doing all their work at the district. So let's give the academic affairs team a hand. Laura, Ann, Shanova, and Constance. And then just, thank the presenters and facilitators. These are things that are not easy to do. Like when I ask someone, they're always like, I don't know. Some people, of course, love the mic, like me. Other people are much more reticent about joining or taking leadership positions. So, honor those people, thank them. It's not easy to be up here to do this work, and we need to keep encouraging each other to do that, to step up. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that we're on traditional territories here, right? And we want to acknowledge that these are the lands that have been borrowed and stolen and now are being used. And so part of our thanks and appreciations are to the people who are here before us. And I think that's something important that we can begin to do in when we're entering our classes and entering different spaces. The last little bit here, these cards, I don't know if anyone remembers these cards. So at the last Flex Day, these are prints this is supposed to be the Oakland cranes on the port, and these are trees. And my brother-in-law, who's an artist, cut rubber stamps and made a little collage for my kids in it. And I took them and I said, let's make these. And the question at the last Flex Day was, how do we either lift each other up or lean on each other for support? And I had people write down names of people in the district, hopefully, who did that. And what I did is I took those in and I sent them back out to those people so they got that acknowledgement and that love and said, send it to one more person. So either they gave it to someone else or they sent it back to me and I sent it back out. With the idea is if you see this card posted somewhere, it means that someone has been recognized and that we need to kind of continue to kind of push forward that gratitude, that leaning on and lifting up each other as we move forward. Okay, here we go. Quick overview today. We'll do shared governance. We have a great panel of faculty speakers along with an administrator kind of introducing it. We have the president's address, and then we'll have breakout sessions that are in your program from 11 to 5 with discipline meetings at 12:30. Here's my little kind of feel-good activity is imagine someone in Peralta who you work closely with. Who do you trust, right? And how does that feel? So think of one person. It doesn't have to be just one person who you trust. The person you go to when stuff isn't working and you need to debrief, you need to understand stuff. Think about what words describes the values that connect that relationship. What I want to do is create a board where we have values that we are all stating up here. And at some point, I would like to come back to that as we begin having our discussions about who do we want for chancellor, about how we want to do this work when we're having these difficult meetings, what values inform that, and not just from the people who are at the meetings, but collectively from all the folks who are on TV and D119, folks who are here. I'll leave this open, and I might then pull some of that data and then make something, a document out of it. Not to say that that will be a final document, but it's a place where we can begin to think about what values we bring when we're doing all of our work together. How do we anchor ourselves? How do we root ourselves in our work? And the tree, like we see the tree and we think maybe the tree is falling, and we think about the branches and the trunk, but maybe there's something about the roots, the things that kind of ground us that we need to kind of reinvestigate. All right, you can continue to post online. I'm going to ask our shared governance leaders to come up. So we'll start with Richard Foley, and then we'll have Jennifer Shinosky, Donald Moore, once you come on up, and we'll get started with our shared governance welcomes. So let's give Richard a hand for kicking this off today.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Foley. I work at the District Admissions Office, and I am the chapter president at Peralta for SEIU 1021. Last couple of years, we've been talking about working together, and doing it with mutual respect, moving together. I think a lot of those pieces are starting to come into place now. We've made some changes in the last year that I think are putting us on a trajectory to success. We need to continue working together, but part of working together and making sure that we're equitable is making sure we communicate with people. We need to communicate with the staff, with the faculty, with the students on our intentions moving forward. Many of us are left floundering as to what's going on. In my department alone, in the last 3.5 years that I've been there, we've had 7 to 8 managers. And we're usually never told when someone's going to leave or what the plan for someone coming in is. And I'm sure that happens in several departments district-wide. That needs to change. We need communication from the district, and we need to be able to communicate out to our staff, to our union members, and just have that in place to ensure equitable practices here at Peralta. Part of that also is respect. And I just want to say that a lot of that comes from empowerment. So in order to communicate appropriately, in order to make these changes, in order to be respectful, we need to empower ourselves to do so, and we need to empower our coworkers and everyone that's in our community to be able to speak up when we see something that's inequitable, that's unfair. We need to be empowered to move forward and work with someone even though we don't agree with them to get some resolution done. It's not about just being oppositional. It's not about teaching people lessons or doing paybacks. It's about moving forward with some resolve, getting some things changed at our work site, and ultimately for the students that are going to go out into the community, take our jobs and be leaders in our communities and throughout the nation, throughout the world. But I believe it starts with empowerment. So please, let's work together to empower ourselves, hold people accountable, do our jobs, and ultimately, hold people's feet to the fire. We need to do this respectfully, and like I said, empowerment, communication, all those things need to happen for it to come together. This year, I think for our union is we want to be able to start organizing. And not organizing to strike, not organizing for action necessarily, but organizing so we do have that voice. Organizing so classified staff are a part of the conversation and can help lead this district. And that's kind of all I have to say. So welcome, and I hope everybody has a good day and a good semester. Thank you.
Next up is Jennifer Shinosky, president of the PFT.
Hey, good morning. I want to give a big thank you to Scott Hoshida and for putting together today's program, and President Karras for hosting us today, wherever he is. I was going to express gratitude and joy at seeing our trustees and our chancellor, but I don't see any of our trustees or the chancellor here this morning yet, so I'll do that later. I'm Jennifer Shinoski. I'm president of the Peralta Federation of Teachers. We are the union that represents 1,000+ faculty members throughout the district. We represent instructional faculty, counselors, librarians, and nurses. They're all part of our unit. This is starting my second term as president. In my first term as president, I saw what we can do when we stand together. We made significant administrative changes. We made significant improvements to our policies, our procedures, our contract language, and ballot language that was passed. We had numerous election wins, and we made some important and lasting relationships with a number of different community members in the area. When we set aside our differences and consider what we're actually here for, I've seen that we can commit ourselves to working together, and the possibilities in front of us are really endless. It's hard, of course, to keep those possibilities in mind when we continue to hit the same frustrations throughout this district year after year. We go to meetings where there are new administrators and new consultants repeating the same unhelpful cliches and advice that last year's crop of new administrators and consultants presented to us. We see classes being cut again way too early before students even have a chance to enroll, so that we continue to drive away our students and we lose the services of a number of really high quality, dedicated instructors throughout the district. We see facilities that remain disrespectful and sometimes downright dangerous for the staff, faculty, and administrators who work here, and of course to the students that we serve. We see attempts to add more high-level administrators, even as our most vulnerable employees, our hourly staff, and our part-time faculty are given their walking papers. But despite popular belief, I am an optimist, and Matt said that would be funny. Jeff said it wouldn't be funny. I really am an optimist, and I do know that, like me, most faculty came here because we love our students and we love our jobs. We came here to try and make a difference in the lives of the students and the community that we serve. We're here because we love education, we love teaching, and we love being a part of the community that we work with. Together, this community can make a real and lasting change. We can join together, and we can fight to become, to borrow from the Oakland Education Association, the schools that our students deserve. I encourage all of you to join us later this afternoon. The PFT will be on a panel at 11 o'clock to talk about the numerous reports that came out over the summer that will influence how we operate in the coming year. That will be in D119 at 11. And then we'll also have a discussion this afternoon at 3:30 in D312. That will be a PFT-focused workshop where we'll talk about exciting news about negotiations, the fight against instructional cuts that are coming this year, and many other topics. We really need all faculty to join us in the work that we'll be doing this year. Our power is in our collective voice, and that collective voice is best heard through involvement through our union, with our union. Thank you for your time, and have a great year.
I'd like to introduce Donald Moore, the District Academic Senate President.
Welcome back to an exciting fall, everyone. Even though it feels not fallish. Anyhow, the chancellor and the board president today is over in Sacramento meeting with the Board of Governors and the state chancellor. And I wanted to kind of reflect on the fact that over the course of last year, there was a tremendous amount of work being done by faculty, by classified, by administrators, and to a degree, the board. And all of this was to try to get us to the point where we can begin to really, really try to address the major issues that we've been plagued with. And part of that is building relationships and beginning to really, really want to work on the different issues that we're confronted with. And so I'm excited about this year because what it's going to ultimately take is a lot of folks working together. And so the Academic Senate is there anxious to work with people to begin to do the things necessary in order to make this Peralta a better place for our students. And so if you come to the 11 o'clock panel presentation, we'll be discussing it a lot more in terms of the FICMAT report, the CBT report. Both of those were analysis of what's been going on here. ACCJC also provided us with information about what their expectations are. And then last year we also were involved in developing a 5-year fiscal plan. So what we're going to be doing this year is implementing it, and making some changes. But part of the message is that we're going to do it collectively. There's a commitment from our chancellor, there's a commitment from our board president, all over, that we want to work at this together. And through participatory governance, we are going to be working on these things collectively. I wanted to say that because some of the frustration has been in the past few years that people haven't been following policies, whether they're board policies or administrative procedures. And part of it is that there's been a lack of trust. And so this year, we really need to be trust with our board, to develop some trust with our board, to develop trust with our administrators, to develop trust with our classified, with the faculty, all trying to work at really, really turning this district around. So we're looking forward to it. There's a lot to be done. And what we really need to do is to provide the necessary support to our faculty who are engaged with students and doing some wonderful, wonderful things. One of the things that all of the reports cite is that our faculty and our classified really, really engage with our students. The positive relationships that we have with our students surpasses all of the different issues that we're confronted with. The stuff we do with our students is utterly amazing. And that's the kind of thing that you see constantly over the years about Peralta. So my hope is that with that type of energy, we're going to be able to address all of the other issues. So I welcome you to our 11 o'clock panel, which is at D119, so you can hear more about the stuff that's been going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you give another hand to the shared governance leaders? They go through a lot of meetings to represent us. Really quickly again, my name is Scott Hoshida. I am the staff development officer. I use the pronouns he, him. Any part of this day that you have problems with or you want improved, you can email me at staffdevelopmentofficer, and I'm happily take your suggestions. I'm always trying to make stuff better. Really quickly, some themes and highlights again are working together, which people talked about today. And we have all these different ways that we work together already and that we're trying to work together. So today's plenary will be highlighted around the learning communities and guided pathways. So those speakers should probably make their way up here. I see them here. And then we have all these communities of practice, and I'm trying to label them as communities of practice so that we understand that these are intentional working groups of people trying to make changes to policy and practice through collaboration, and they are happening. I had someone tell me, we don't have any communities of practice, and this is the list of people who are actually presenting today, right? So not only are they doing the work, they are actually presenting out back to you. And so it's just to acknowledge this list of folks is about people trying to move things in small ways, and it's super important. So if you want to have you see something's missing, let me know and we can try to start something. If you want to join a group, go to that workshop and find out what's going on. Talk to the people whose names are on there. If you can't make the workshop, find their name, email them, say, hey, I'm interested. We have stuff happening. It happens in pockets. By nature, our system is kind of fragmented, so it's hard to kind of get connected. But once you're in, you can get on that list and you can be connected with other people.
Good morning, and welcome back to Fall 2019. So great to see you, and I have an honor to introduce and then contextualize a little bit about what the learning community and guided pathway is all about. And we have great faculty colleagues who are going to be coming through to really share what's been happening in the learning community and in the guided pathways at each college. And this is really a compilation of a lot of work with the faculty, staff, students, and administrators. And this is really a way to really highlight all the colleagues that came forward, did the welcome before, said about building the trust, learning and knowing how to work together with respect, and honoring people's expertise and so forth. So this is a really wonderful summary of what's been happening. So I just wanted to do a little warm-up, icebreaker, just to get you guys started. So there's going to be a number that's going to come up, and then I want you to guess what the number might be. And then the number is related to our community college students. Okay? Ready? Okay. So what is this number? 4.5. Anybody? Okay. Very good. Oops, sorry. So it's a median number of years it takes students at the certain community college to earn their first associate degree. Very good. Okay. What about this? 92. Anybody?
Number of units they take?
Okay, you guys are good. Okay. Median number of units earned by students at a certain community college, California Community College, in order to earn their first associate degree. Very good. Thank you. What about this one? 27%. Percent of full-time first-time students who graduated from a certain California community college within 3 years. Okay. And then this is the last one, 52%. What does that represent?
Is it retention from semester 1 to semester 2?
You guys are really good. Oh my goodness, okay. So this is percent of first-time students who persist from fall to spring. Okay, so thank you very much. But okay, so this is the why, right? Those numbers are not okay, right? So this is the why that we are engaged in activity, well, the frameworks such as learning communities and guided pathways. And many of the presenters are going to be showing you what great work that's been happening. They're going to also talk about a little bit of challenges that they have faced and how they are overcoming the process and how we are struggling to kind of move forward together. But those are completely necessary process. It's so okay for us to go through this process so that we will learn how to go overcome those bumps and disagreements and some differences in opinions. But in order for us to move forward, those things are so necessary. So the guided pathway is a very organic process that the presenter is going to show you how that's been formulated at this point in time as an update. So I had a slide that contextualized a little bit of summary of the guided pathway and then demystify a little bit of concepts that's been going around. And it's not just us, but it's statewide. So the key concepts of guided pathways are 6 points in a nutshell. So making college ready for students rather than making students ready for the college, right? So really, if you were truly student-centered, then we need to figure out how we might have rooms to change to serve them better so that those numbers improve or decrease or whatever it is that's going to represent student success.
Second key concept is that we're going to be away from the cafeteria model. Some of you have heard this before, but to go into the guided pathway model, which is that students would not lose options and explorational opportunities, but then they have a better idea as to where they're going when they come to us. So number 3, guided exploration of undecided students. So students who are undecided, they tend to go into the liberal arts, directions and so forth, but then they kind of get lost and then they earn 92 units and they go nowhere. So, we will provide them with a better packaged pathways or the package of courses that they could take so that they can actually complete their educational goals. Okay, also, we would create a clearly delineated program requirements. So some of you are already doing that, and you will see some of the great work that's already been happening with the presenters, but they are creating the sequenced courses. And then why are those sequences are the way that they're stacked up that way? Those explanations are going to be coming later. And number 5, the guided pathway, one of the concepts is that it's a development of educational transformation. And finally, it's a proactive and integrated academic and non-academic supports. So the administrators at the district, the colleges, we are completely in support of this. And we are not the really leaders of the pack. You all are. And so we are here to cheer you on, facilitate whatever it takes to move the whole transformational process forward. And that is our role. And then I just want to really highlight that we are completely in support of this entire undertaking. So just the 3 things about what guided pathway is not. So I just want to highlight that. So guided pathway is not a model to be implemented. We had a little bit of initiative fatigue last year, and sometimes guided pathway felt like that. But it's not that. It's really a transformational process of redesigning our way that we serve our students. And guided pathway is not yet another initiative that happened in a silo. Many of the shared governance and then PFT leaders talked about the intersectional work and then collaborative work that's needed, and then this is really a good example of us being able to do that. So it's a great opportunity to undertake that. Finally, guided pathway is not something that can happen without the involvement of everyone on campus, especially students. So we really, you will see it from the, you'll hear it from the presenters, but student voices are really important. So a lot of focus groups and surveys have been done, and really hearing their experience to learn from them as to how we need to change. Again, they're not the ones to change, we are the ones to change. So anyway, those are some of the contexts that I wanted to lay out before the presenters come. And so at this point, I think I'd like to welcome the first presenters, who are? Oh, Bruce.
Do I need to speak through this thing, or?
Yeah, so you have to speak through it because it's actually getting streamed to another room.
Okay. So my name is Louis Quinlan. I am... Everybody's cheering because I'm an A's fan, right? No. So I am Department Chair of Machine Technology, and we train machinists. So does anybody know what machinists do? We make stuff, right. I'm not bragging here, but we pretty much make everything in the world. So you may think, well, did we make the clothes you wear? Well, we didn't sew those clothes, but the machines that make the cloth, the machines that sew the clothes, the machines that pick the cotton, all of those kind of things we make. The water you're drinking or the coffee you're drinking, the way the coffee is processed, we make those machines. The water you're drinking, well, a lot of our students go to work at East Bay Mud, and the water you're drinking comes through their piping systems, through their pumps, through their valves, and our students work on keeping those in shape so that you get nice, clean water. Your iPhones and your different phones. We don't make the phones, but a lot of the parts, we either through making molds or things like that, we end up making those parts or touching those parts in some way. So we pretty much make the world. And we do it with precision. So I don't know if people understand what we mean by precision. So in our second and third semesters, our students work on projects that the tolerance is 3/10,000ths of an inch, plus 3/10,000ths minus 0. So to give people an idea of how small that is, pluck a hair off your head, divide it into 10 parts, and you have 3/10,000ths of an inch. So that's the tolerances our students work to. We can actually measure, in our department, we can actually measure down to about 50 millionths of an inch. Okay, so that's pretty small, that's precision. That's why machinists get paid good money. So how have we developed learning communities to deal with this? So there's a handout in your packet called High Impact Pathways. And what I'd like to do is just go through that very quickly and tell what we've done. First of all, I think CTE naturally has guided pathways. Our students, when they come in, they pretty much know every class they're going to take. If they're on an industrial maintenance program or if they're on the manufacturing program, they have courses and a schedule laid out from them from the very beginning. But we actually reach back beforehand. So one of the things, on-ramps or bridge programs. So for the on-ramps and bridge programs, we actually work with high schools. We're working to put machining programs back in the high schools. We give all of our excess equipment and tooling to different high school programs. We're working with Berkeley High School and their robotics program, trying to get them to do some of their machining at Laney and actually working on putting machines in their programs. Our newest and exciting on-ramp program is working with a machining program at San Quentin. And through Restoring Our Community and Roger Chung, we actually went up there a couple of weeks ago. And we toured their machine shop, met with some of their staff and many of the students. And we're trying to figure out how to give credit to those students for the work they're doing and the things they're learning up at San Quentin so they can come into our program and not have to repeat a whole bunch of things, and we can prepare them for industry. So those are kind of our on-ramp programs. So we have an entire range of programs. Right now, we have this is what our guided pathway looks like. So we have different on-ramps and different off-ramps. And up here, the ones in dots, if you can see them, are the programs. This was made in 2014, were our proposed new programs. We're right about at the point of finishing those programs. So when we add classes, we can't just add classes with a book. We have to build out our labs. We have to build out the training equipment. And so that takes maybe a little more time than just adding a class into your curriculum. So we're in the process of just finishing this up. Our inspection certificate will be completed this year, and hopefully our industrial maintenance, advanced industrial maintenance, we're offering some of those classes. So if you, Scott, if you can let me know when I have time. So our guided pathway doesn't just end at when our students graduate. If you can pull that, the Google Doc up. So we actually track our students once they leave. First of all, we help place them into many of their jobs, and we track them. If you can scroll down through that. So these are the students we've placed over the last 4 or 5 years in different jobs. So when we place these students, we stay in contact with many of them. And they'll go to an entry-level job, and they'll work there for a year or two, and we'll get a company that's calling us up. Maybe they're opening up apprenticeship. Maybe San Francisco PUC is opening up apprenticeship. We'll contact them and let them know that they're ready to move into a higher paying, a higher skilled job. So our pathway continues. And one of the things Scott asked is how this would apply to the academic world. And so to me, it's actually pretty easy. So we send people off every year, new students that graduate from Laney or from Alameda or from Berkeley or Merritt, and they go to the UC system, they go to the state colleges, and they're new on campus. They may have a group that they go with of fellow students, but what I would like to do, and I think would be a good idea, is we send students there every year. So what if we kept in track with the third-year students and put them in contact with the fourth-year students that came from Laney or BCC or our different colleges, so they could actually mentor them, show them around, explain what difficulties they had, explain the things that work for them, and that way we kind of build a continuous pathway through the UC system. So that way our students have familiar faces and people with familiar experiences that are coming in and helping them be successful at the new level. So that's just one idea. So in tracking these people, we also develop, is Adam here? Adam. So Adam is our newest faculty member. Adam, can you explain your pathway? So, since I'm on the microphone, so Adam came into our program about 9 years ago. He had a 4-year degree in comparative Eastern European literature. High demand occupation. And at that time, he was working in a restaurant. And he took his first machine shop class, no experience. I don't think he really knew what he was walking into. And he went through as a student, and then he went out in industry, and he came back as an instructional assistant. And then he stayed in industry for about 5 or 6 years, a number of different companies. Then we hired him as a part-time teacher, and last year he was hired as a full-time teacher. And so right now we have 2 full-time instructors, 4 part-time instructors, and 2 of our part-time instructors came out of the same process. So we're kind of growing our own. So this pathway idea, I think, goes way beyond what we just think normally is a classroom and a group of students at a community college. So the other thing is, to make a pathway successful, I think you have to provide a lot of support for that. Okay, so like the on-ramp program, we bring students into our program. Many of them are not prepared. When I first started at Laney, I had students that I said, well, either these guys are lazy or they're not very smart. And I was part of a basic skills learning brief, and somebody said, well, maybe your students can't read. And I never even thought of that. It never occurred to me that I had students that couldn't read. So we went around and figured out what to do. We worked with the Basic Skills Learning Collaborative. We worked with some of the ESL instructors. And we actually do our own assessment every semester to our first-year students. And we do a reading assessment and we do a math assessment. And we don't do it to place our students or discourage our students. We do it because, as an instructor, I need to know where my students are at. I can't find out in the 3rd or 4th or 5th week that they have reading problems, or they have language problems, or they have math problems, because by then it's too late. So I need to be able to get them help right away, maybe suggest an ESL class, an adult ed class, or some type of additional learning that's going to enable them to be successful. Students that are, we have many Chinese and Latin students, Latino students, and we try and pair them up with students that are more bilingual to help them as they're progressing through. So all those kinds of things are things we do to make the pathway successful in our on-ramp. The other thing we do is we provide a lot of funding for our students. Over the last 5 years, we've supported 140 students with about $150,000 in scholarship money. Okay, so the list you saw up there that was scrolled down, we have documentation on 150 students that we've placed in jobs over the last 4 or 5 years, and then basically are still in contact with many of those students. We have paid internships that we've developed at the Shell Oil Refinery, at East Bay Mud, at POSCO Steel, and those are all paid internships, usually 12 to 16 weeks in length, at about $25 an hour. The other thing is, many of our students go out to work, and then apprenticeship opportunities come to places like San Francisco PUC or East Bay Mud, Livermore Labs. We'll pull our students back, and with some of our math instructors, we've actually developed a training program for people to be successful on different tests. The apprenticeship tests, the qualifying civil service tests. We've actually turned that into a non-credit class now, and we have a non-credit certificate for people that are, so we can actually get some FTES for that. Before, we were just kind of doing it on the side. Okay, so we have National Institute of Metalworking Skills, which is a nationwide industry thing. We have a 98% pass rate on their skills certification, and then also we have math tutoring for our 220A program, 220A through G, and I need to thank David Frost, because David got that recognized as a not just a certificate math program, but a degree applicable math program. So we work closely with the math department, making sure our students are successful there. So that's, in a nutshell, our guided pathway.
Thank you, Louis. Next up, we have Skylar Barton from Berkeley City College. And as he comes up, I want to just thank Louis for his service. How many years have you been in Peralta? 16 years, been working on this program. And a lot of times we need to make sure we find people who've been working for a long time and learn from them, like what they've been doing and how they keep kind of building as we keep going. So Skylar, why don't you come up for Berkeley City College?
BCC is in the house. I feel like Louis got a much louder applause than I did. I'm looking at my family over here. This is actually, because of the level of expertise in this room, this is rather intimidating, I must say. But I got tenure last spring, so it's whatever. You know. It's whatever. All right, real quick. I need you to answer 2 questions for me as fast as you can. The winner gets a prize, okay? Can everybody see me? I hope everybody can see me. You got to be looking. What color is this paper? What do cows drink? Not so intimidated anymore. So Scott and I would like to recognize that many of you have been sitting down. At least, no matter what else I say, at least you have a trick to use with your students now, right? I do every semester, never fails. Much funner with a group like this, though. Cows do drink water, I believe. So, calves drink milk, you're right. So many of you have been sitting for quite some time. We'd like to welcome you to take a quick stretch break if you would like to. Maybe give a high five, maybe meet somebody. Not mandatory, of course, but many of you have been sitting for quite some time. Cool. It'll be like towards the end. Uh-oh. He's a little dangerous. 15 more seconds, please. I got a short time frame. We're good. Okay, let's bring it back, please. Scott gave me a real harsh time frame to work with here. We good? We good? All right. So my name is Skylar Barton. I am a learning communities counselor at Berkeley City College, and I'm also very involved with our Guided Pathways movement. And I'm actually a native of Berkeley. I worked with Berkeley Unified School District for over 10 years. I'm very enmeshed in a lot of the work we do with the city of Berkeley, collaborative work with our Berkeley Unified School District, and also local feeder institutions and programs within our community, as well as our Promise partners. So I'm engaged in a lot of this work. Why am I here today? Because apparently I am completely incapable of saying no to Scott Hoshida. All right, first and foremost, thank you, Scott, for a little bit of extra work at the kickoff of the semester. I'm here really because, like many of you, I'm very passionate about this work. Like I said, I grew up in this community, and I recognize, as many of you do, and has been mentioned earlier this morning, that we clearly persist to have opportunity gaps within our communities. And basically, my whole adult life and professional career, I've been working to address many of those opportunity gaps, and it's a pleasure to do so within our community. I also recognize that there are many wins, many students who we see, whether they're earning certificates, whether they're transferring, whether they're propelling into their careers of choice. There are many wins, but I would say that it's safe to say, in my personal opinion, that we have some work to do to get to that championship level, to where we're winning championships. I know Laney's football team brought it home for us, and maybe some other programs within the Peralta district, but as a whole, we got some work to do, right? So that's really why I'm here. My goal for today's presentation, like I say, I only have a brief time, so I'm gonna try to connect some dots really through this graphic up here. Our learning communities at Berkeley City College are really guided pathways within themselves, and there's also direct correlation with the 6 student support factors from the RP group. So I really wanted to just highlight a few of the activities that we have implemented and a few of the strategies we've implemented with our learning communities. It's really not rocket science, though, but I just wanted to share a few of the things we're doing. And then if it's all right with you, well, even if it's not all right with you, because I'm not going to change the program, I'd like to share a story okay? And I didn't bring a student with me, but I think it's about time to hear about a student's story this morning and kind of get things going that way. So that's kind of my style, and I speak from the heart, and I like to utilize real-life experiences. So just bullet point a couple of these. I'm not going to go through them all. I only have a few minutes. In our learning communities, we have placed a high focus on connecting with students early and connecting with potential students early, whether they're in adult school or whether they're in a program in our community or whether they're at one of our local feeder high schools. So we actually reach out to them. We've been providing opportunities for students to earn early college credits like many of the Peralta colleges are doing these days. And then we also really focus on providing a seamless transition from wherever they're coming from to us at Berkeley City College. So we like to work with our students even prior to when they get to us and they're already registered. We want to help them through the whole process. So come first day of the semester, they're already good to go. They have a whole community. They have people that they know they can go to. They have a full schedule. If they're in high school, we want them to have a full schedule with us before they walk that stage at graduation. So they're actually ahead of the game more than a lot of other students, right? One of the things we like to do is provide embedded counseling, meaning our dedicated counselors for the learning communities will go into classrooms and meet with students, whether it be one-on-one, if something comes up, or to make announcements and check in. And we've been doing that all along, and we really like to utilize what we call now our English 1A plus classes because it just is a good fit. They have that computer time, and we work with the instructors. The instructors work with us as counselors, and we go in, and so we're actually incorporating that strategy into our guided pathways, where we will be going into all the English 1A pluses, English 1A plus classrooms this semester, whether they're learning community classes or not. So we're meeting the students where they're at, and that's a big thing about learning communities and some of our strategies with guided pathways. Meet them where they are at with real-time support. We do a lot of cross-discipline and cross-function collaboration, okay? So we meet, if you're in the learning community, for example, the cohort of instructors, counselors, coordinators, administrators will meet together, whether it be bi-weekly or monthly, to check in about all the students. Now, it's not always easy. It's not always easy because, you know, we're all busy. People have schedules. Some people may view it as a little bit extra, but it's really not extra. It's providing holistic support for students. We check in about students and see how each one of us can play a role in supporting those students to and through and even moving on out of our programs. Sometimes the instructors will plan their curriculum accordingly, so we might have themes, so activities, assignments may roll together, so it really provides an excellent experience for the students. Of course, in terms of the guidance, the education plans, the career, the major, the transfer support, all of that is embedded in what we do. Provide books for our students in the learning communities. We help them apply to scholarships, encourage them to apply to scholarships, and we do a lot of networking. And one exciting strategy we're implementing this year is a near-peer mentorship program. So really excited about that. We're going to pilot it this year where continuing students will be paired with incoming students as a near-peer mentor. So that's definitely part of our learning communities and our guided pathways movement. So, can I share a story? All right. Stop going through those bullet points. Let's get to something interesting. Okay. So, let's see. Last night I was emailing with a student. Like I say, I speak from the heart and I try to come from like in-time, real-life experiences. I'm communicating with the student via email as my boys are riding their bikes in a little court near our house. I asked the student if I could share a little bit of his story with you all today. I'm not going to mention his name, but he did give the okay, and I'll share a little bit about his experience. I met this student just about a year ago today. Okay, he was referred to the learning communities by an instructor at BCC who's actually he's actually the legendary Cleavon Smith back here. We all know Cleavon. Man, Cleavon got a louder applause than I did. He ain't even up here speaking. So Cleavon actually worked closely with our learning communities, and he referred this student that he had met. The student is a continuing student. Traditionally, our students will enter the learning communities, you know, in their first semester, or maybe they return to school, but this student had a little different scenario, and Cleavon thought it would be a good fit for him to check out our Emoja program. So we connected, and as soon as I met this young man, I was like, wow, I see why Cleavon referred him. He's got a lot of things going for him. He's very appreciative of support and community and family. This young man grew up in a single-parent household with his mother in Richmond, a pretty tough neighborhood. He transitioned to BCC, largely navigating the experience on his own. Okay, first generation college student. He made a connection with Cleavon in his first year in Cleavon's English class, and they established a rapport that's ongoing to this day. Let's see. This young man, while at BCC, his mother became very ill, and unfortunately, tragically, she passed away. So now he doesn't have a lot of family in his area, in the community, and it really was he and his mom throughout his upbringing. So now he's really navigating a lot of this stuff 100% solo. I mean, I'm talking about living situation, paying for bills, so he's working, going to school, but he's determined. He didn't want to give up. We established a rapport, and when I say we, I mean counselor, instructors, coordinator, and probably most importantly, students in the community. He joined the Emoja program throughout this year. Yes, there's still some ups and downs. He's navigating a lot of challenging situations I can't even imagine. But he's doing really well. He's doing really well. He's actually transfer ready. He'll be applying to transfer this fall. Okay? So things aren't necessarily easy for him right now. He's actually in a pretty severe car accident this summer. He's okay. He's okay. He had some pretty severe injuries, but nothing that won't heal, and he's already back to through the healing process and going back to work and ready for the fall semester. But all of these things come into place, and when you communicate with him, you just see like how much of a stand-up young man he is, because he's always got a smile on his face, and he'll tell you, like, these are challenging times, but I'm going to keep my head high like I always do, and I'm going to make it, right? But the thing is, he knows, he's so appreciative, and he says it all the time, that he has a whole community around him to support him. It's not just him, and he knows he has family at BCC. He commutes all the way from several cities away after working long night hours to come to BCC, and that's, you know, I'm not going to say that's his home, but he has family there, and we got him, and we got his back. And that's the theme of today, and that's the theme of learning communities. That's the theme of guided pathways, in my opinion. It's the holistic support coming together. None of this would have happened, right, without the collaboration, without instructor reaching out, us coming together. Anything he knows that anything he needs, we got his back, right? So I just think that his story is inspirational. He actually sent me a very warm message when I asked him, could I share his story? And basically, in essence, it was, yeah, you guys have always had my back, and it inspires me, and one day I want to inspire other people from my community as well. And he will. He's interested in social work, counseling, things like, of course, that makes me really happy. But he is going to inspire so many lives throughout his life. So anyway, I just wanted to share his story. If you see him one day, maybe meet him. He's got a super bright smile. When I mean bright, I mean bright. It's awesome. It's heartwarming. So let's go from there. I just got 1 or 2 more minutes. Scott, can we go to the next slide, please? Clearly, I'm not graphic design, none of that. This was my first slide, and then I deleted all the lines to make that last slide so you could actually see what's going on. But this is just an example of how things connect, right? From here to here to here. You can't really tell, but just it connects, all right? It's all a mess up there. All right. Okay, real briefly. A couple questions to consider. It's not all great. I just shared a very heartwarming story, but things are challenging, right? We share common dreams and goals. How can we increase working collaboratively within and across campus? Don't worry, it's spelled right. Campuses to share best practices and align our efforts. First and next steps, something to consider. How do we provide real-time support while avoiding burnout and protecting work-life balance? I thought of that because I was emailing at like 8 o'clock last night. Okay. So a call for action, I humbly and respectfully challenge us all to commit to establishing at least one realistic or maybe unrealistic. I'm a big fan of thinking outside the box and thinking in unrealistic ways, because sometimes those ideas end up with tremendous outcomes. So realistic or unrealistic goal, at least one for this fall semester or this year, that leads to improving student success within Peralta, and commit to the evaluation and assessment process of our so-called actions. So I challenge us all, myself included, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Skylar. And he's talking about not being burnt out while I ask him to do this in the middle of recruitment, right? And like setting students up. So thank you very much for coming.